Okay, cool.
Alright. What is up, animation lovers? Simon here. Welcome to HannaTalk. And today I'm here chatting with a very special guest, a voice actor who is best known in shows such as Daria as Kevin Thompson, Anthony DiMartino, and Timothy O'Neill, Casey Jones from the 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and many other series, as well as the audiobooks of Star Wars The Expanded Material. Please welcome Marc Thompson.
Hey, how are you?
I am very well, thank you, and how are you?
I'm doing great.
That's absolutely
Thanks for having me on the show.
That's no problem at all. It's great to have you here. So, on to the first question. How did you get started in acting?
Oh, wow. Well, how long do you have now? I guess the short version is that I was never really athletic, and I wasn't super smart or anything like that. But my mom got me involved in like some improv classes and things like that, and started taking me to acting classes. And in junior high, I got cast in a play called The Wolf Boy, the Ghost, and the Light of the Moon. And it kind of like gave me the acting bug, and ever since then I kind of pursued it. And I was in all the high school shows and musicals, and show choir and things like that. I had amazing teachers and mentors there, and then pursued it in college. And I guess one thing just kind of led to another, and it's been going ever since.
Right. And from starting with the live action stuff, how did you get started with voice acting?
So for voice acting, I went to NYU to study acting, and my sophomore year, there was an audition posted on a corkboard for a cartoon that MTV was doing, and it was a cartoon about vampires. And the only information they had was a telephone number, and the instructions were, call this number and leave a message on the answering machine of some, character voice about this, vampire thing. So I think I called, and I was like, I want to be in your cartoon, and I was just being kind of goofy. But that was enough to get me an audition, and then they called me in, and I auditioned for that show, but they ended up not going forward with that show. It didn't go into production, but they remembered me for when they wanted to do Daria, which I heard you mention in the introduction, and that was a spin-off of this other show that MTV had called Beavis and Butthead. And I auditioned for that, and I was lucky enough, and I got some parts in that show. And that lasted for a few years and was very successful. And basically after I got that job, it snowballed from there. Like I was able to kind of, get other auditions because that was on my resume, and people were willing to give me a shot from there. And it kind of went to this show called Kid Muscle, or Ultimate Muscle. I played Kid Muscle. He's like a goofy wrestler, and that got me involved with like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, and then everything kind of went from there.
Fantastic. And as you mentioned before with the series Daria, what was it like doing that series?
It was really cool. Like, I was still in college at the time, so I was, and it was right at a point where I wanted to stay in the city for the summer, and I couldn't really afford to, and I was like, trying to get all these, waiting table jobs, and I figured, actors just wait tables. I'll just get a job at a restaurant, and like, getting a job at a restaurant was just as hard as getting a job in acting, because like there was so much competition and everyone had all this experience, and so I couldn't find work anywhere. So that job came along at the exact right moment, and basically allowed me to live in the city over the summer, and it was just so fun. We just laughed so much, and the writing was so witty and it was just hilarious, and I got to do 3 very different characters, so that was really fun, and I really was spoiled because it was such a, for that to be my first big job, really my first job that I got paid to do for acting, was such a treat, and I really feel blessed to have gotten that,
And what would you say, or who would you say was like your favorite character to voice in Daria?
I think Mr. DiMartino, he was the history teacher, was a Daria Morgendorfer. And even though it was there were definitely sessions where I left and I couldn't talk for like a day afterwards, because he really gets heated. But it was so fun, like to play with that, and they let me go wild on him. Like I could, I was turning bright red, and the director at one point was like, "Are you okay? Like, do you need a doctor or water?" So like, but they really let me play with him, and he was by far the most fun to do.
Fantastic. And another series that you're also best known for is Casey Jones from the 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. How did you get the role, and what was it like playing the character and in the series as a whole?
That was another great one. I got involved at 4Kids Entertainment initially through Pokemon, and then Ultimate Muscle, and they were producing a lot of these shows, and that was a big one because I obviously grew up watching the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was really excited about the potential to do that one. So I really, I wanted that one pretty bad. So when I got the call that I was doing Casey, I was overjoyed, and I was really excited about that. And that one was unique because, unlike most of the shows I had done, they recorded that one as a group. So a lot of times I would be in the booth with the other guys that were playing the other turtles, and we got to riff off of each other and let the other person's lines influence how you were going to do your lines, and so it felt much more like a play. And that was another one, and that one was done instead of dubbing a cartoon that had already been animated. This one they were animating to us, so there was a lot more freedom in how we could read the lines, and more of a sense of we were helping to create how this character was going to be portrayed in this version. So it was really exciting. That one also lasted for a long time and was pretty successful, and I'm still friends with those guys. Like, we ended up, doing plays together. Like, we did a series of short one-act plays together, and I still work with them now, and I really feel lucky to have been a part of that one.
That's fantastic, and it definitely was a really, really great series. And would you ever want to see, if they were to ever do a revival series with the original cast from the 2003 series, would you be open to coming back if given the right opportunity?
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat. That would be amazing.
Fantastic. Now,
it would be so fun.
Speaking about with 4Kids, the other series that you're also best known for, I mean, as you mentioned before, but one of the most well-known series that, as you said before, got you started in 4Kids was Pokemon. What was it like playing in the series?
It was pretty cool. Like, at first, I wasn't familiar with the game, so I was at first I was kind of like, what is this? Like, why am I just saying my name over and over and over again with different inflections? Like, I didn't really totally understand it, to be honest with you. But seeing what a global phenomenon it is has been really fun and exciting, and it's been great. I've played I've lost track now of how many, but they tend to use me mostly for the creatures, so it became a cool acting challenge to figure out, how do I make just saying my name convey all these different emotions, or how many different ways can I say the name, so I'm putting the emphasis on different things at different times, or and how do I say my name when I'm doing this particular move, and so that was fun. And now I get a kick out of the fact that I'm a father, and I have two boys that are 11 and 13, and we're all into Pokemon Go now, so it's really fun. Like, we'll catch one and I'll be like, oh, I voiced that one, yeah. So that's kind of a fun perk, I guess, of doing that one.
That's absolutely fantastic. And I've been hearing a lot of the stories about, like, a lot of the voice actors from Pokemon, particularly I think Veronica Taylor had started posting up on Facebook a little bit about Pokemon Go and such. So yeah, it's really funny to hear about a lot of the voice actors from Pokemon being involved in the Pokemon Go game as well. And have you ever like cosplayed at like as like one of a Pokemon character while playing the game at some point?
Now you're giving me ideas. That's a cool idea. I've not done it yet, but I like your thinking. That sounds like fun.
That would be amazing to see.
Yeah.
But speaking about, of course, with Pokemon and with 4Kids, obviously everyone knows about the news that 4Kids had lost the rights to the series. Were you aware of what was going on with that?
I mean, somewhat. I don't totally know all the details. I was just kind of, excited to work on the show. So, but I think it, from my understanding, a lot of it boiled down to money, and that, I think every business wants to figure out how to, make a high quality product, but do it for the lowest cost possible. So, I think ultimately that was the motivation, and there was maybe, some disagreements about how much things should cost or could cost, or so. That's my basic understanding of it. I'm sure there's more details than that, but
right. And do you still keep in touch with the original voice actors from the series?
Yeah. I'm going to be playing video games with Eric Stewart in a half hour or so. So yeah, we still see each other, and I don't see Veronica as much anymore. She moved to Los Angeles, but I see Darren a lot, and I play with Eric weekly on Xbox, and so yeah, I see a lot of these guys.
Fantastic. And have you ever watched the new Pokemon series or met any of the voice actors from the new series?
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually still working on Pokemon now, just at a different studio at Duart. So I see them in passing, and I don't watch it regularly, but I've seen it here and there, and yeah, it's still fun.
Fantastic. And another series that you're also best known for is in the Yu-Gi-Oh series, playing Duke Devlin and various other characters. What was it like playing in the Yu-Gi-Oh series?
It was another great one. I mean, there was that period where 4Kids was like on top of the world, and we're doing all these shows that were incredibly popular, and it was really, really fun, and those guys are all talented, and Yu-Gi-Oh made a little bit more sense to me, in terms of it was that group of friends. I guess Pokemon is too, but like I could latch onto that more because of the relationships there. And again, I did a live duel a few years ago in Detroit with Dan Green, and it was, that I think that was the first time I really understood the magnitude of Yu-Gi-Oh and how much people loved the game and what it meant to them. And I had people talking to me about characters that I had voiced in the show, and they were incredibly complimentary and gracious, and just what the show meant to them. And that was maybe one of the first times I really understood how special that show was. So again, I just feel really honored to have been a part of these things.
Fantastic. And a question I leave out there for listeners right now, because we're actually doing this live right now as well. And a question I leave
out... sorry.
No, it's all right. It kind of for all the listeners out there, this is something that we just added to the interviews now, is if you guys have any fan questions, be sure to leave them below in the comments. And here's a question I leave out there for the listeners. Would you want to see a live-action Yu-Gi-Oh series with the original voice actors from Yu-Gi-Oh?
Ooh, that'd be awesome.
That would be really amazing. And speaking about, of course, with Yu-Gi-Oh, one of the new Yu-Gi-Oh series that you're in now is Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, which I think premiered last year, I believe.
Oh, cool.
Yes, which I think I saw on your Wikipedia page, even though Wikipedia is not really that trustworthy. But
no, it is not.
But are you really playing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal?
Yes. In Zexal, I am Astral.
Fantastic.
So I'm his blue floating spirit guide, I guess.
Awesome. And how excited were you to come back into the Yu-Gi-Oh series, especially having done played across the entire original series?
Yeah, that was pretty cool, and especially because I got to do a lot more with Astral than I had with Duke or some of the other characters. Some of the other ones like Valen, or what is his name? It's escaping me now. The blonde-haired guy.
Raphael,
thank you. I had a really cool arc, but after a few episodes he was gone. So it was fun to play Astral, and kind of be with Yuma all through the series, and kind of see the growth in the character and all the different adventures they were going on. So it was a lot of fun to be such a big part of that one.
Fantastic. And speaking about, of course, with another series that you just came back into doing last year was Winx Club. What was it like doing that series, and especially coming back into the series?
Right, you really know your stuff. That was really fun. It was unique because I could be wrong, because there was a big time jump for me with that, but it felt like some of the animation was different, and the style was slightly different, so it took a while to kind of get back into the feel of that one. But I got to, I liked playing the ogre in that, and the character was it was a really fun voice to do. So I enjoy the especially doing him was really fun. So like that was the best part of that show for me, is getting to do that character, because he's just total goofball, and I tend to gravitate more towards those really broad, over the top characters. I feel like that's where I have the most fun, and that seems to be where I get hired the most. So
right. And also because with with Winx Club, as I know, that they brought back several of the 4Kids actors for the new series, even though I believe that 4Kids Winx Club was under 4Kids. Is that right?
Well, I always get confused about who owns it, because there were a lot of shows that we produced at 4Kids, but they didn't necessarily have the exclusive rights to. I know Yugioh would air on other networks, and then we as 4Kids always kind of syndicated their stuff, so I was always kind of confused who owned what. But you're right in that we originally produced it there, and then it was done at Duart, and now I believe through this company 3Beep is doing it, so it's kind of made the rounds through these different companies. But a lot of the voice actors are freelance, and we kind of just go wherever the company is, so it's or wherever the cartoon is. So even though it changes to a lot of different companies, as long as they're producing it in New York, you'll find a lot of the same voice actors working on the shows.
Right, that's fantastic. Yeah, and of course, you also had narrated audiobooks for the Star Wars expanded material. What was it like being involved in a franchise as popular as Star Wars?
Well, that was probably the biggest deal for me, just because of all of those things that I'm really honored to been a part of, I grew up loving Star Wars. I was a fan of Star Wars and am a fan of Star Wars. So that was really an answered prayer for me, to be honest. Like to be able to get to, be a small, teeny tiny part of the Star Wars universe is a really big deal to me. And it was also very challenging, because the cartoon work that I do, I don't want to say it's easy, but it comes more naturally to me, because it is like being in a play, except for you're just using your voice. But I had always kind of mimicked things and learned to do character voices growing up and in school and things like that. So that came very naturally. And when I started doing audiobooks, I think I got hired because I could do voices, and Star Wars especially is a franchise that has a lot of different characters and a lot of different voices. But the part that I didn't have was the idea of of really being a storyteller, and kind of the narration aspect of doing the audiobooks was a totally new skill that I had no experience in, and I had there was a learning curve, in the first few books I did, where I really had to kind of learn how to make not just the character voices interesting, but the prose and the description of the room that you're walking into, or the description of what the character is thinking. When it goes on for many pages, how do I keep the listener engaged with that? And that was something I need to learn from the director and kind of through practice. And I'm still trying to work on that, but it was a lot harder. And then of course there's the stamina of when you do a cartoon, you're in the booth for 30 minutes, maybe an hour. But when you're doing the audiobooks, you're in there, from 10 in the morning until sometimes 6 at night for, 4 or 5 days in a row.
Wow.
So it was a lot more grueling, and a lot more intensive in terms of what you're doing. And I never want to complain because it's not like I'm working in a coal mine or anything, but it was definitely a lot more difficult and a lot more challenging than anything I had done up until that point vocally.
Right. That's fantastic though. And if you were given the opportunity to star in the new Star Wars Rebels cartoon, especially because they're doing Grand Admiral Thrawn for season 3, I think fingers crossed that you get a role in Star Wars Rebels season 3. That would be amazing.
I would love that. I tried. I sent Dave Filoni an email and a Facebook post, and I called my agent, and I was like, "Hey, is there any way you could get me an audition in there?" and they tried, but they have so many extremely talented people that they're already working with, and it hasn't happened yet. But I'll still I would still love the opportunity to audition for that show. I'm a big fan of that show. They do an amazing job, and I would really, really love the chance to do anything. I would be a one-off character that dies and do the Wilhelm scream if they would let me.
Fingers crossed. And as an actor, what would you say was like the most challenging role for you to play?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I don't really know, to be honest with you. Like I did I think voiceover wise, it's hard for me to nail it down to a specific role. I think subtlety is hard for me. So anytime that I'm doing a role that requires more, nuance or subtlety, sometimes it's hard for me to trust that I'm doing enough, if that makes sense. So sometimes I feel like I need to indicate more than just letting the words do the work. So sometimes the audiobook stuff can be more challenging because that requires more subtlety and just kind of a softer touch. So sometimes I guess that type of thing can be challenging. I got to do a Broadway show once, and that was amazing. And there was a character that was threatening. It was talk radio, and I played this kind of racist guy who was threatening the host of the radio show, and I was doing scenes opposite of Liev Schreiber, and that was challenging just because I admire him so much, and he was such a skilled performer that trying to kind of match his performance level and go toe to toe with him was challenging, and and it was I wanted to kind of be my best for those moments, and so that was a challenge, but I really enjoyed it.
Fantastic. And was there ever like a particular role or character that you ever wanted to play or ever wished that you played?
Not especially. I mean, I'm not like my stuff is like you said. Like I would love to be a Jedi in a Star Wars movie, or like, or act in a Star Trek film or show, or those are kind of the things I aspire for. So I don't know if that's, I'm not like dying to play Hamlet or Richard III or anything like that. I'm kind of a fanboy, and I would love the chance to kind of be on screen in one of those franchises that I'm a big fan of.
That's fantastic, and fingers crossed it does happen.
Yeah.
And as an actor, what would you say has been like the one role that has resonated with you the most, and you feel like you could relate to as a person?
Oh man. Well, I think like a lot. I mean, I guess Luke Skywalker in the books, in the sense of like, he sometimes struggles with what is the right thing to do, and he has a lot of different people telling him what the right thing to do is, and he's kind of on this journey of trying to figure out, what is the right thing. And I really relate to that. I think sometimes I can feel pulled in a lot of different directions, and not sure, how to do the right thing. And I desperately want to do the right thing, but sometimes it's not always clear. And and I can struggle with that feeling of that struggle to figure out what is the right path, I guess.
Fantastic. And without getting into any spoilers, any other current or upcoming projects?
Well, I finished recording the first season of a new show called Peking Duckling, and that should be premiering soon. It's more of a young kid show, and I play kind of a goofy, crazy duck, and it's one of these things where I always do the wrong thing, and then my friends try to, show me what the right way to do it is. So it's kind of aimed at preschool kids. So, but that was a lot of fun to do. I'll have the third book in the Aftermath trilogy coming up soon. I haven't recorded it yet, so I don't know what happens, but I believe that one's slated to come out in the beginning of next year, so we should be recording that soon. And then, that's pretty much the big ones on the horizon. But I'm always trying out for stuff and trying to get more work.
Fantastic. And final question, what do you think Casey Jones would say if he saw kangaroos?
Goonga! Hey, Raph, what's that weird mouse jumping up and down? I don't get that.
That's fantastic. Marc Thompson, thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Oh, good. Well, thank you, Simon. I really appreciate it.
That's no problem at all. And anything you'd like to say to the fans out there?
Just thank you so much for your support. A lot of you have reached out to me on Facebook and Twitter, and you're extremely supportive and complimentary, and that helps a lot, especially voice actors, because we don't get to... We're just in a padded room by ourselves talking into a microphone, and we don't necessarily get the immediate feedback that you would get if you were doing it before an audience. So hearing from you guys is really inspiring me, and it makes me want to do better every project I do. So thank you so much for all your support.
And the pleasure is all ours, Mark. Thank you so much. And hope to see you in Australia someday.
Oh, man, that'd be amazing. Let me know if you have any hookups.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, guys, that's okay. Well, guys, if you'd like to find out more about Marc Thompson's work, you can check out the links down below in the description. And don't forget to subscribe down below to HannaTalk as well as Simon Hanna Music. And follow me on both Facebook and Twitter. And any suggestions you guys have, leave down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much. This is Simon, signing off.